it like kind of jumps up and down. Yeah? And then if we press space bar, this was the last assignment, painting with shapes. If you press space bar, is it space bar? I have to dig around through the code, so maybe we'll make this shorter for now. So, oh, shift. Okay, so now if you press shift, this student has coded it so that if you press shift, it turns to night, and then suddenly it's snowing in this penguin's domain. Pretty neat. Happy, 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 happy. Okay, so it's very close to the ticklish part, but it just jumps up and down. We can do more complicated kinds of animation. But there's certain parts of her code I want you to explore. Maybe you share some similarities in her code. So the part that I want to focus on is we notice, let's see, how do I make this extra big? Make this smaller. So the code is all over here. Notice that when you press the mouse, all these things, like these about like 30, about these 40 to 50 lines of code controls the penguin's movement. So when the mouse is pressed, you have a different kind of penguin, and when the penguin's normal, notice that it is drawn another way. So you draw an ellipse in one position, when the mouse is clicked, you draw them another way. So all that gets tedious. You imagine the student when she was coding this, that she copy and pasted the original penguin, and then decided, okay, I want to move everything up here like that. So I'm going to modify all those numbers. We take a look at her code, and you notice that everything on here is still numbers. There's not many variables just yet. So we can save some time with variables, and then we can save even more time to more easily animate this penguin by moving some other shapes around. It's mesmerizing. So how do we do that? Let's say, so another comment on this student's code is that we know that this part is very much the penguin, but what would really help us as users of this code is comments. Like, for example, where is the wing, where's the beak, where's the head? So this student could improve a little bit on there. So for the time being, let's take my best judgment, and all this code here draws the original penguin. What's nice about CodePen is I'm going to create a copy of this, so if ever I link you some demo code, you can click the fork button, and then this will create a copy of that same exact code for you to edit. So that's what I just did. I pressed the fork button at the very top. This will now be demo code for block 6. And what I'm going to do is try to get that ticklish motion with this student's code as like my baseline. For here, if I notice, if I comment out all these lines, the penguin, the original penguin, actually hold on, otherwise, so I'm looking at the else. Down here, if I'm not pressing the mouse, the penguin just stays in its current spot. So I highlighted those lines, I commented out, and now I run, you notice the penguin disappeared, right? Looks like I found the right spot. But now when I click, suddenly the penguin appears and it just kind of shoots up in the air. I've correctly identified the lines of code that I want to mess with. So, like if you watch the video, I did a little circle example, but in this one, I'm going to cut this code out, write down that I took out some code here, took out code here, and here's the new idea I want to emphasize. At the very bottom of my code, we'll have something, this keyword, function. Function keyword, and what my function is going to do is going to draw penguin, like so. What's going to go inside? It's the code that I just cut from before, and I pasted it. I'm going to uncomment it out so it recognizes that this is what it means to draw a penguin. And maybe now that when I click, wait, I'm not seeing my original penguin. We go back up here. I have to not only define what I used, like how we define variables, I have to use this function. We think back to the very first assignment when we had Olympic rings. A circle isn't drawn until you say draw circle, otherwise known as the ellipse function. So right now I cut and paste certain bits of code, and now I've replaced it. I've taken a little shortcut with using this function name. Here's my original penguin. If I'm pressing on the mouse, it goes up. If I release it, then it goes back to original position. Questions so far? Currently our understanding is functions are shortcuts, and now let's do some more interesting things. We're going to introduce a new variable here to help introduce some more control to this penguin. Notice that right now I draw the penguin in a very particular spot over and over again. Let's say I wanted to draw the penguin way over here, maybe somewhere in between. Notice the change that I made here. You have a variable x. This is called passing in a variable. Now we can introduce and control where we draw said penguin. Maybe here, with each individual shape, I'm going to add in that x variable. Uh-oh, things are disappearing. Oh no. Oh no, that looks weird. Triangle. You're seeing real-world updates to this penguin as I erase parts of its body, bit by bit. It's kind of entertaining. Goodness. Oh no. Now it's scary. It's like that SpongeBob episode where all the parts disappear. So almost, there's still see a beak, and lastly down here. Okay, so penguin's gone. You're like, oh, why? And you noticed each part as I was adding in the x has deleted it. Notice that now, since my draw penguin function takes in a number, this original function doesn't make any sense to the computer. There's nothing here. Let's see what happens when we put in 10. Uh-oh. I think it looks like I messed up with the beak a little bit, but okay, we'll bear with it. What do you think will happen if I put in 50? Uh-oh. Okay. 90? 100? I might have missed some x's in there. Ah! So due to the complicated behavior, if you remember, like with a triangle, you have to shift like 3 points over by 1. So this example will carry over still. Notice that each time I update this variable, it goes over a little bit more, and then unintentionally I'm stretching the penguin off the page in parts. So if I had a bit more time, I would go in, like all these triangles, I should have added in like here, this one needs some more x value, this one also more x, and then this one. So remember, like the xy pairs really matter. I only changed one of them, but for the more complicated shape, like triangle, all of them must be shifted over, and that's why you're seeing this like residue from this penguin motion. Right here, so here I added in that 100. Now it should look a bit more normal. Oh penguin, where did you go? Let's move you back. So originally, now here's our 10. Look normal. Okay. Penguin has been reassembled. And now if we increase this to 100, it should shift over. Now if you shift it over 600, Badoo, goes over there. Nice. And now the most interesting part, let's leave it penguin in the middle and introduce some randomness. Random, let's say 0 to 5. What do you notice is happening to said penguin? Let me make it a bit more drastic. There he goes. So a very hyper penguin sliding across the ice. This penguin now moves one-dimensionally with minimal key changes. Notice that I really didn't copy and paste much after that first move. This is how you use a variable to influence your function to help you change it. At this time, it's just like moving backward and forward. But the spirit of your ticklish penguin assignment is like doing maybe up and down too. Questions? Comments? We'll work with functions a lot more this class, but this is just one example of this code. And I will upload this. Your